Hi everyone, my name is Zach. I want to tell you about my sister. Her name is Annie. We have a big age difference. I'm 15 and she is already 30. But most of the time, everybody thinks I am older than her. Now, I'll tell you why, but in the meantime, put your likes and comments down below. As I said, my sister is much older than me. I'm in high school. I was in middle school at that time, and Annie had already graduated college and found a job in another city. She visited us rarely because of her busy schedule. As the years went by, Annie still didn't get married, which worried our parents. They thought that time was not going in her favor, and it was time to build a family. Every time they brought it up, we had a fight. My sister stubbornly insisted that she had the right to decide how to live her own life. We usually didn't talk about such things, but as I grew up, we had an honest talk with Annie. Well, did you have another fight with parents? As usual, they are expecting to act like an adult from me, but how much more adult? I'm already working and I graduated from college. What else should I do? You know what they want. Grandchildren. I know. Maybe you really should think about it. You are almost 30. It will be next year. There are rumors that after 25, time flies so quickly that you will be alone forever. So what? Why do you care? I don't want to take care of you later when you turn into a granny. Fuck you. Well, to be honest, I just can't find a man I could marry. Are your demands too high? Nope, more like theirs. Do you see the skin on my face? What's wrong with it? I have early wrinkles because of bad genetics. Mother had the same issue at my age, but she was already married and had children. Guys treat me like a missus, like I'm already an old woman. Are you serious? Is that the whole reason? This is an argument. Do you know how many guys avoided me? Get plastic surgery then. Oh no, I'm not going under the knife. Annie, what knife? Just pump in some Botox for wrinkles and that's it. Annie thought for a moment, then asked how I knew that. I had a teacher. She did the procedures every year and didn't hide it. But she kept her beauty despite the fact that she is already 65 years old. My sister thanked me and left. A couple of days later, she went back to her home. She came to us only 6 months later. I remember it well. It was Thanksgiving Day and someone rang the doorbell. I opened it and saw a girl in front of me. She looked like Annie. I said hello and asked, "What do you want? Where are your parents?" Knowingly, she came into the house, hugged me and told me that she is at home already. Only then I realized that she was my older sister. Wow, what's wrong with you? I took your advice and now this is my new look. You look like a baby. You look like you have a smoothing filter all over your face. Did they give you more than you needed? A little bit. I asked for it. I like the effect. Now parents will never bother me about the age for sure. But you can't change a reality in passport. Then our parents came into the room. At first they also didn't recognize their daughter. And then mother began to yell. Like what she did to herself and something like that. Annie freaked out, of course, because parents never respected her choices. We dined in silence. And then my sister invited me to take a walk with her. She said that her life had changed since the procedure. Her colleagues were making fun of her childish look, and only teenagers began to hit on her. Annie was upset, and I asked, "Isn't it possible to change something?" She said she didn't have any money right now. We passed by a supermarket. Annie wanted to drink some alcohol. We went into the store, and she took a bottle. But at the checkout, she couldn't pay for it. They said that selling to minors is prohibited. Annie showed them her passport, but they still didn't believe her. Even then, they threatened to call the police for tampering documents. I'd had enough and was going out. But Annie, I don't know what got into her. She grabbed the bottle and yelled, "Run!" We quickly got out of the store and ran into the street. I had such an adrenaline rush. I didn't even understand what happened. I just followed my older sister. The salesman chased us, but not for long. We turned the corner and she drank half of it and threw it away. "All right, sis, let's go home." "No, the fun is just beginning." "What are you talking about?" Suddenly, she ran in the direction of the mall, said that if she was perceived as a child, then she would use it. Annie dragged me all over the playground, jumped on the trampoline and rode on the swing. We ate ice cream, drank Coke and ate a lot of chocolate. To be honest, I started to like her more than before. She wasn't boring anymore. We left the mall about 3 hours later, and then she got sick because she had eaten too much. She threw up right on the road, just as the police were passing by. We wanted to run, but they caught us and checked if we'd drank any alcohol and took us to the police station. We waited for our parents, and there was a complaint about stolen alcohol. We were fined and my parents were furious, especially since she dragged me into it. In the evening, I called Annie. She was outside. My sister admitted that she hadn't had fun for a long time. "Should I keep my face?" she asked jokingly. I said, "No, come on, come back. I've had enough of the adventure. Even for me, it's too much." But the question was different. Where to get the money for the procedure? Then I suggested that she try out casting for children, impersonating a child, participate in a contest and win money. It wasn't fair, but it was the last resort. She needed to learn the words, try herself in advertising, and that was it. Annie was given the text, but she failed it. But it gave me another idea. We went home and we had a photo session, then started a blog where we told everyone about my sister and an honest story about how she got a baby face. In just a couple of days, she had a bunch of subscribers. Everyone was interested in talking to a 30-year-old girl with the face of a child. Annie started hosting broadcasts, talking about life, even about me. And then we started making videos for the blog, recording funny moments like when we come into a restaurant and her card is not accepted because they think it was stolen. She even had her own fans. One of them found out where we live and came to visit us with flowers. His name is Jack and he's our neighbour. As it turned out, he had been in love with Annie for a long time, but didn't dare to confess his feelings. He is also 30 years old and he has a job, but unfortunately lives in our city and has never left here. When I saw Annie, I doubted for a long time that it was my sister, but when I saw the blog, I realised that I was not mistaken. Annie didn't take him seriously, but she continued to talk to him. Our parents already seemed to have gotten used to her new face too, and Annie began a very different life. She pumped her blog and began to earn money from it. Jack even helped with the video editing and shooting when I didn't have time. 6 months later, Annie saved up the necessary amount and was going for the procedure. And Jack said he'd go with her. "Are you sure?" "I think so." "Look, you're still going to be old to me anyway, but think about the blog. If you like it, why not keep it? Mum and Dad are also silent." "I know, I'm getting used to my new look, but I have to get back to work." "Your income is now more than you used to earn. Well, think for yourself." We said goodbye and my sister and Jack left. She was gone for almost 2 weeks and then she called me on video. "Can't be. Did you leave everything as it is?" I asked when I saw her, and Annie so happily said, "Yes, I decided to keep it. Maybe it's for the best. Thanks to you, I learned that I have other interests and I plan to continue blogging. And I was invited to appear in several commercials and I've already signed the contracts." I was happy for her. Who would have thought that one decision could change her whole life? Even though Mum and Dad thought it was childish, I managed to convince them that it wasn't. The main thing is that Annie is happy. She feels good and the rest doesn't matter. Only then did they remain silent. Well, about her new boyfriend. She recently decided to officially meet with him. Of course, he tried his best to be with her and went to another city to stay there with her. Now they are doing well and my mother is really waiting for grandchildren. But if she wants too much, I think she can wait. Sooner or later, it will happen. Here is such a story, friends. I've heard that there are so many people in the world like my sister, only they were born with a baby face that doesn't grow up. And you know what? Maybe this is your benefit if you know how to use it correctly. You never know what will happen. Do you agree with this?
When we arrived home, my mother admired the cleanliness and delicious dinner. But then, after a couple of days, when she rested and slept off the jet lag, I began to notice that she was different. Hello everyone, my name is Julie, and I have a mother who will beat anyone's. And all because she is 18 years old. Well, at least she thinks so. Do you want to know how it happened and what the pros and cons are? Then watch, and do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I am also waiting for comments from you. Write your opinion under the video. I will appreciate it. In general, I lived with Mom and Dad for a long time, but then a difficult financial period came into our life, and this was due to our family's debts. Dad decided to open some business, and as you know, any business requires a lot of investment. Due to the fact that we did not calculate the capital, we had to get into debt. And when our family crossed the line of real opportunities, it was decided to earn money not here, but abroad. Dad couldn't give up what he was doing, so we stayed at home. And Mom left. Of course, I didn't want to let her go, and besides, I'm very attached to her. But there was no other way. So she collected the documents, got a visa, and left. I cannot tell you how hard it was for me to live just with my father, because my mother used to run the farm, and after her departure, everything fell on my shoulders. I was almost 15 years old at the time. I didn't really know how to cook, wash, or clean, but I had to learn quickly, so I pulled myself together and started everything from scratch on my own. My mother found a good job, and within 2 years, we were able to spread out debts, as well as level the business, plus we saved up for our house, car, and things went well. That's when my father told my mother to come home. At first, my mother did not hide her longing for me. She cried every time we talked on the phone, but then her calls became less frequent. It upset me because I wanted her attention, but she wasn't there. My father was almost always busy at work, so I was on my own. After school, I came home and did household chores. I didn't have time to go out with friends. The only consolation was the books. I slipped a little in my studies, but it was not critical. The teachers at the school knew about my situation and were more lenient with me. Through persuasion, my mother still came. It was an exciting day. We went to the airport to meet my mother. My father bought a large bouquet of her favorite flowers, and I cooked a turkey in the oven. But already at the airport, I noticed that my mother was not the same person. The woman standing in front of us with a suitcase was not the woman we knew. Previously, my mother dressed more appropriately for her age. She was already 44 years old, but there she stood in short white shorts, a pink t-shirt with the inscription, "I am a princess," and she was wearing a cap and large glasses. I was surprised, but my dad and I decided it was just clothes, nothing more. We were wrong. All the way home, my mother talked about the city where she worked, about its beauty and the people. My father and I couldn't even get a word in. When we arrived home, my mother admired the cleanliness and delicious dinner, but then, after a couple of days, when she rested and slept off the jet lag, I began to notice that she was different. First thing in the morning, my mother did not make breakfast, as before. She ran to the bathroom and put on makeup. It was not clear why. After that, she put on her sundresses, youth overalls, did her hair, and only then went to breakfast. By the way, yes, I continued to cook. My father would quickly leave for work, and it would just be the two of us. When I came home from school, she was talking on the phone. The house was not cleaned, and there was nothing cooked. I changed my clothes and made lunch, and after I did my homework, made dinner. I tried to justify my mother by saying that she was tired, or had not yet adapted, but it was not so. My mother often went out, made connections with former unmarried friends. She came home late and sometimes drunk. There was another teenager in the house. In short, every time my friends came to see me, my mother sat in our room all evening and talked to us. They didn't even pay attention to me. They chatted with her all the time. My mom kept asking them about guys, giving them seduction tips, and laughing. I was envied by all my classmates. Like, my mom is so modern, but it wasn't very cool. Then one day, I met a guy named Dave. He was wonderful and asked me out right away and came home to pick me up. My mother opened the door. She didn't know who he was, and I noticed that she was trying to flirt with him. Dave almost fell through the ground from embarrassment. She could not see herself from the outside. I quickly left with him, and he asked, "Is that your sister?" I was never so embarrassed. I told the truth, and he said enthusiastically that it was cool when my mother was like me. I came home from the date and found my mother singing karaoke to the whole house. She put the music on at full volume, danced, freaked out, smoked. I never saw her smoke. When she saw me, she didn't hide, but offered me cigarettes and handed me a glass of red liquid. "Let's party," she shouted. It was terrible. She went shopping almost every day, sometimes dragging me along with her. She chose the same things for me as for herself. How can you do that? She was my mother. People around me were surprised when I called her Mom, and I felt ashamed. In the end, even my father noticed this, and he made a remark to her to pull herself together, start doing things around the house. Then in response, she locked herself in the bathroom, shouted from there that we do not love her, and cried loudly. And then I got out of there, packed up, and went somewhere else. That night, Dad got a call from the station. It turned out that she got drunk at the club, broke a window there, got into a fight with some girl, and got rowdy at the station. Rumors spread all over the city. The uncontrollable teenager in the face of my mother went off the rails. It was necessary to do something, and we decided to take her to a psychologist. She resisted for a long time, resented us, but eventually went anyway. The psychologist said that my mother is now going through a teenage life in her head because in her childhood, she did not experience this period. She really did have a difficult childhood. She lost her mother early and had to work from the age of 15. And at the moment when everything got better in life, money appeared and my father and I were not around, she turned back into a teenager. It can be cured, but it takes time. We made her promise to visit a specialist. In the meantime, I still put up with an 18-year-old mother who steals my makeup. This is simply unthinkable. Tell me, guys, are we doing everything right? And what would you advise us to do?